Look at the condition of what was once the principal city of all of ancient Egypt. An incredible mess of destroyed ancient ruins, including massive statues, obelisks, stone blocks, and everything else. It's no wonder it took more than a decade of digging for this site to be fully excavated. And this is what it looks like today after many years of restoration, although restoration is certainly not the appropriate word, as the remnants have been moved and repositioned into an organized museum-like fashion. Not at all the layout of what it would have been originally thousands of years ago. Again, just look at the utter devastation. Clearly, something catastrophic happened to this site to obliterate so many pieces of immense rose granite, which, by the way, is believed to originate from the Aswan Quarry, which is more than 1,000 kilometers or 630 miles away. And this only adds to the mystery when you consider that there are broken pieces of a statue made up from one single piece of stone that is believed to be the largest ever to have existed. And get this, it is estimated to have been 28 meters or nearly 100 feet tall and some 1,100 tons. And again, carved from one single piece of granite. How did the ancients move stone of that mass more than 1,000 kilometers? And what on earth happened to obliterate it into so many fragmented pieces? As you see these various photos of this site, is it not abundantly clear that something devastating happened here that far exceeds the destructive works of an angry mob of invaders? Consider that some of these stones appear to have been scorched with high heat, which that in itself is another mystery. What would have happened to create this level of heat damage to solid granite? And to think that this was once the capital of all of ancient Egypt, and adding on to the fact that so few have ever even heard of this ruined place, is truly strange. That the entire city is totally obliterated, which is blatantly apparent to all who have eyes to see, but if Tanis was indeed abandoned due to an unusable harbor, then why did they leave all the city's valuable treasures behind? Countless remains of precious jewelry. Clearly, if the Egyptians chose to abandon this city because their harbor became unusable, which, by the way, if they could build all this stuff, why wouldn't they just build another harbor? But it seems to me that, as nothing else, they would have taken their valuables along with them. And I'd also argue that even if the Nile River had swelled and inundated the city, that still wouldn't explain the vast catastrophic damage to all of these massive stones. But not only that, I would venture to say that the Egyptians would have been intelligent enough to avoid putting their capital in a location that would be inundated by flooding of the Nile. No, there is clearly more to the story of what happened to Tanis, and if anything, it looks like it was bulldozed by a tsunami. You see, Abu Sir, which is located not far from the Giza Plateau, is another site that most people have never heard of either. In fact, it's off limits to the general public and is only available to be seen by those who obtain special access permission, which requires paperwork and literally thousands of dollars, which ultimately grants you a heavily monitored visit with chaperones from the Egyptian Ministry of Antiquities. And having visited this site personally, I have to say that it appears that something devastating happened to this ancient temple as well. And keep in mind that the condition in which we see it today is after many centuries of its stone having been removed from the site to be recycled and reused on other structures in the area. And by the way, that is the explanation as to why the site was destroyed in the first place, to reuse the stone. However, I would argue that stone recycling does not explain the full nature of the devastated remnants of this site. Like I always say, look and think for yourself. It seems to me that there is more to the story of Abu Sir, and I have to say that I am very curious as to why this site is so shielded from the general public to the point that you have to pay thousands of dollars to get special government permission to even see it with your own eyes. Now, there are other sites around Egypt that appear to have been obliterated by a catastrophe as well. But what I want to show you now are sites, ancient sites, all the way over in South America that appear to have been destroyed. In my previous video, I shared and discussed the perplexing mystery of involving 80-ton stones that were somehow brought a mile down a mountain from the quarry, immediately carried across a river, transported through a valley, and then brought to the top of a steep mountainous hill in the Peruvian Andes to the ancient Inca site that is called Ollantaytambo. as you will clearly see that something devastating happened here as well. As at the top of this incredible site, there are massive monolithic stone blocks that totally stand out from the multiple other types of stonework found in the area. At least 3 different construction methods, in fact, which is interesting when you consider that the historical experts claim that this had to have been created by the same civilization and at the same time. But I have to say that I highly doubt that. But that aside, notice how the largest and most impressive pieces of stone are scattered about, many of which are broken and clearly what's left over of whatever this site was prior to its obvious destruction. Yet it is claimed that the site simply wasn't completed. They do not say it was destroyed, they say the Inca just did not finish it. Yeah, I'm not so sure about that either, especially when you consider that at the bottom of this mountain are the remnants of various broken pieces of stonework that appear to have tumbled down the mountain long ago. And this really shouldn't be a surprise when we consider that the Andes Mountains are already known for their powerful earthquakes that have taken place over the millennium. But earthquake or not, clearly something catastrophic happened here. But then there's the lesser-known Peruvian site of Siustani, located along Lake Titicaca, not far from the Bolivian border. This is one of those places that pictures simply do not do justice. The ultra-wide camera lenses that are necessary to capture the full size of these impressive stonework also distort the true depth of these behemoths, which, with your own eyes when seen in person, is totally different. This will be a topic for another video, but right now let's focus on the obvious destruction at this site. And although this will sound crazy, it literally appears to have been exploded. Notice how these massive multi-ton stone blocks are scattered everywhere. This is not a matter of these ruins being deconstructed over the centuries and stone blocks being moved around. No, when you visit this site, you would be amazed to see that these massive blocks are scattered and broken as if they were thrown hundreds of feet into the air and falling all around the area. Perhaps the best example is what you're seeing here. These stones are at least 10 tons, and if they were carried and set down, that would not explain the fact they are cracked in half. But pictures never do it justice, so observe this short video that I filmed while visiting this site last August, and forgive the shaky camera and quick panning, but it paints you a picture for what the environment looks like surrounding the area. Again, look and think for yourself. Does this really appear to have been deconstructed with the stones casually just dropped about the area? Some of which, by the way, are a couple hundred yards away. And here's another question to think about. Why would they deconstruct it only to rebuild with significantly smaller and less precise stones? I said it before, and I'm saying it again. Clearly, there is more to the story about these ancient sites than what's been theorized by people in modern times, many of which have never even visited these places in person. Make no mistake, it is indeed a true mystery, and that is the point of this video, that there are significant ancient sites around the world, including even a lost capital of ancient Egypt, where something unbelievably destructive happened to, and yet somehow so few people are even aware of.